Hey everyone, and welcome to today's early access review. I'm going to be talking about Satisfactory, a first-person factory building optimization extravaganza brought to you by the people who made one of the most unique games ever, Goat Simulator. Honestly, I have trouble classifying exactly what Satisfactory is. There's obviously some heavy inspiration from Factorio, maybe a little bit of Minecraft, but I feel like Coffee Stain's thing is making games that take a concept, idea, or genre, and then doing something else to them that no one has really done before, or at least done well before. And that's what Satisfactory is. It's a relatively unique game that draws inspiration from other games, but does an amazing job of really being its own thing. So, is Satisfactory any good? For the most part, yeah, it is. Even in early access, Satisfactory delivers a large amount of content and three somewhat unique areas you can choose to settle in. First up is a very beautiful and colorful, if not mildly generic, grass field. It's, at least in theory, the most well-balanced area, giving you access to both mineable resources and organic resources. Balanced in theory, because at this point in time, organic materials seem to do much less for you than anything else, since the only end goal that currently exists is manufacturing enough items to satisfy requirements for moving through your technology tiers. Then you have the Rocky Desert, which is billed as having better building opportunities and less travel distance between resources. However, you're shafted on being able to find organic resources. While I didn't play through the desert as much, it seems like a much better deal if you're playing this game to actually create awesome factories and optimize systems. And finally, Northern Forest, which is the area you play in if you don't want to enjoy the game. Building is a pain, there is a distinct lack of resources, and optimizing your factories is a major problem. Also, the area is packed with aliens that want to kill you, and since it takes a while to get a ranged weapon, dealing with the enemies can become tedious. The area is also littered with poison, which you can't actually deal with until tier 6, when you can finally make gas masks. Basically, the world just seems unbalanced. If you want to challenge yourself, this is probably still not a great choice. The main problem right now is just that there isn't any point to exploring the world you're in. Sure, there are aliens everywhere, you can find cool things, but this aspect of the game seems like it's still largely a work in progress, which I think is supported by the fact that when exploring, you will literally find items that are tagged with work in progress. As it stands, as an early access game, Satisfactory feels like it doesn't benefit from being a first-person game. The first-person aspect hasn't been fleshed out, and there's no reliable way to organize and line up your buildings. You can build factory floors to snap buildings to. You can create a tower to give you a more aerial view of your layouts and designs. But when it comes to actually putting your factories together, the perspective feels like more of a hindrance than a boon. However, Satisfactory does an amazing job of making building feel natural from a first-person perspective. Placing buildings in general is simple, and making conveyor belt connections feels natural. Being able to see the world you've created from a first-person perspective can also feel incredibly rewarding. That's the thing. While optimizing everything can feel clunky, the end result feels incredibly satisfying. When I started playing Satisfactory, I was hooked. Everything you do and everything you set up felt fun and enjoyable. There was something just generally addicting about it. After playing the game for at least 10 straight hours, I had to go to sleep, but actually getting to sleep was a struggle. It was a struggle because I was just lying in bed thinking about how I could change what I had built. How could I improve my power grids, optimize steel development, and make my initial base a little bit less of a mess. I woke up, ripped everything apart, and was left with a series of factories that I was very happy with. Rebuilding everything still felt rewarding, and it actually was rewarded. Parts that I needed for my next tier upgrades started coming out faster, and it felt like I was really controlling the speed of progression. Before I go any further, I have to add that Satisfactory supports playing with friends. I enjoyed Satisfactory the most when I was working with other people. Our general strategy was finding other mines and each individually working on building supply chains around those mines, essentially creating multiple hubs or outposts. Unfortunately, one person decided to isolate himself, making his own area self-sustaining. Eventually, he built a chainsaw and a tractor and decided to invade our main hub. This is when we discovered that hitting someone with a tractor doesn't actually do damage. So that was good. Either ways, it added to the experience, and working with other people can go as far as each person's creativity will take you. As a whole, Satisfactory has been a solid game. It took about a day and a half to unlock every tier of technology, and the game felt relatively well balanced. Every tier could be easily reached and progressed through with enough planning and patience, with one exception. It felt like Tier 6 technology was largely unbalanced. At this point, you need to start bringing in oil and Caterium, which for me were really far away. Yes, I probably could have started my hub elsewhere, but the first oil node is 2,000 meters away from where you drop. Who is going to run that distance at the start of the game in preparation for something they have absolutely no clue they're going to need? There are some other balancing choices that were made that may or may not be ideal. Automated power generation doesn't pop up until Tier 4, so you're forced to manually refill your generators with biofuel or other lesser fuel sources for a while. It's a bit tedious, but I don't think it's a bad design. It makes it feel like you're tending to the world you're creating while you learn about other things. You're basically watering your plants until they become big enough to take care of themselves. And honestly, it's not even that tedious. Fuel lasts a while, and eventually you get a chainsaw that can cut down trees. At that point, it actually becomes fun to generate fuel. Sure, you'll rewire things to work with coal at some point, but it's not that bad. Finally, there are organic things that you can find through exploring that you can research and use to optimize aspects of your factory. At some point, you learn how to overclock buildings, which can allow you to better manage production pipelines without having to construct multiple buildings. We also found a crashed pod, which allowed us to unlock some alternative recipes for some items. And that's Satisfactory. All in all, the game felt amazing. There are some clear balancing issues and a couple of bugs that will hopefully be cleaned up. There's also a roadmap for the next few months with introduction of new resources and technology tiers. I think that Satisfactory can and will grow into an amazing game that I'll probably sink hundreds of hours into eventually. I don't think it's fair to brand it as a 3D Factorio though, because while you are building factories and optimizing things, there's also a huge focus on exploration and just enjoying the world that you're in. I look forward to seeing how Satisfactory grows, and I'll be checking back in on the game regularly to see what new content has been added. Is it worth paying to play the game in its current state? I think it is. This game gave me and continues to give me hours and hours and hours and hours of enjoyment. And don't forget, this is just in my opinion. If you feel like I left something out, which I definitely did, if you disagree or you just want to suggest a game for me to review in the future, leave a comment. Otherwise, thanks for watching and check back weekly for more reviews.